Who are some of the other acts that you went out on the road with when you were with Summer's Heat? You must have toured with like Lakesides and people like that.
Yeah, exactly. Lakeside, yeah, and Chic, Earth, Wind and Fire, the Barcades, the Gap Band, the Ohio Players,
Cameo.
Cameo. Yeah, that was one. There was some others. Frankie Double Dutch Smith. You know who he is?
Yeah.
uh, man, there was so many, man. I mean, we did that circuit, where all the R&B bands were together, So I mean, we weren't as big as the Ohio Players, but in regions of the country we were bigger. It depended on where we were, So we were popular, but then let me think of some other people. Man, it was so many, but I named a bunch of
Confunction.
them. Confunction,
Cool in the
and
Gang.
Cool in the Gang. Yeah. I think some of the biggest groups back then were like Chic. Chic was big, huge.
Rick James
And
was big.
Rick James, and we just did all these. A lot of times we did concerts, or there were festivals, and there were many R&B bands. So there might be 5 or 6 bands on the same show. So we definitely, there were bands like Click. I mean, there was I can't even remember all the names.
Clear.
Clear. That was another one. I think Clear. I remember one show, and I think it was that band that loaned us their instruments because our truck was late.
Oh.
Yeah. It was, and I guess those were a sign of the times too, because people were, really trying to help each other.
That's very cool. I've heard other stories like that too. So it's good to hear.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention some of the guys that you worked with Summer's Heat, very impressive musicians in their own right, like Alphonse Mouzon,
Yeah.
Kevin Tony from the Blackbirds,
Diane Reeves,
Oscar Brashear, Ernie Watts.
Yeah, a lot of people, man. There were a lot of I was fortunate in that we hired a lot of the best people in the industry, or that were in the industry at the time, to perform on my records. So like Oscar Brashear. I mean, and Alphonse Mouzon. I mean, hands down, one of the best drummers on the planet. So at the time, so yeah, I always was into that. I was always into like getting the best possible players and people I could recruit. And I think recruiting is the right word, because you have to be a good recruiter. Because people if they don't want to work with you, they won't. You know what I'm saying? If they have a reason not to. But usually with sessions, or people are session musicians, they don't even really think about the personality of the people they're working for. It's a payday, They're getting paid to do what they like doing, So
I noticed on those records too, Bill, that you kind of went back and you did a little flute and you did some more of the other instruments. And so it must have felt good to be able to kind of show everything you could do on those.
yeah, I'll tell you, the first record, it was called Feel the Heat, I think. My first record with Prestige, and then I figured it would be my last. It was my debut record, so I didn't know if there would be any more. So I did everything on my first record that I thought I would ever want to do on a record, period. It had 7 languages on it. Okay, so it gives you an idea. And that was actually Diane Reeves' first record that she ever performed on, was my soul record. And then there was Skip Scarborough. You know who he is? He
wrote a lot of songs.
Woo!
Can't Hide Love.
Man, this guy was, I was fortunate enough to have him involved, and then I moved from him to Ndugu, who passed recently.
Yeah. Very sad, yeah.
Yeah. He was a good friend. He was a good guy. So at any rate, what other damning questions do you have?
Well, why did Summer's Heat come to an end?
I didn't know it did.
Well, in terms of new albums.
Well, we have the newest one we did.
Well, you took a long sabbatical in the 80s.
Hey man, you'd be surprised. I really didn't. You see, you don't understand the dynamics of what I do is I'm into the educational aspect also. I have an organization called Club Kid. And Club Kid is what I wish would have been around when I was a young musician. What we do is we help young musicians and older ones realize their dream. We actually do it. We do it. We don't play. We don't BS. Somebody's got. We find someone. So let's help this person get there. Let's say what do we need to do to get them there, and we make it happen. And they give now. We were talking about summer seat. Let me tell you, no one that's ever been around me and in my band ever graduates. There is not a point in time where I'm not communicating with those people that were in the band. There's not one day that goes by that I don't speak to somebody in that band. Not one day. Okay, now let me give you an example of how deep it really goes. Clay Tobin and Larry, Clay Tobin Richardson and Larry Batiste have become famous when it comes to putting musical productions together. What is Summer Seat doing today? 4 members of Summer Seat are going to be at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion on April the 12th. Clay Tobin, Larry, Scott Roberts, Bill Summers. Now, those are 4 people in the band of a band. That's half the band right there. Okay. And what we're doing is we're raising funds for arts and entertainment in the Los Angeles Unified School District under a guy named Rory Pullins, who was over 900 schools in the LA area. It's a huge show. Sheila E., her father, actors, politicians. Okay, so here we are. We're not, Summer Seat is still rolling. That is Summer Seat. Believe me, look at who wrote all that music. You're going to see Larry and Clay Tobin and Bill Summers an awful lot. And so all of these, Lori Hams is in Switzerland. I just finished doing percussion on her record. She was the lead vocalist. So but no one graduated. This is lifelong commitment. And Larry is a top official in NARAS in San Francisco. He and Clay Tobin put the music together for the Grammys, okay?
Nice.
Okay, so my guys, this is, I'm proud of that.
Tentacles everywhere.
Yeah, I know one thing. If you ask them what helped get you where you're at, they got to say Bill Summers. They got to, because it is what it is. They say it to me all the time. So man, I'm glad we did what we did, and we're still doing it.
That's great.
Yeah, we're still, man. You have no idea how close we all are. We're very tight, very tight.
And I know you did go on to work with Herbie again, and you did some more Headhunters.
Yeah, we sure did. And that was another thing. I was producing for Herbie after all of the crazy stuff happened. I don't know how I did it, but we got back together. I don't know what special thing I have with him that the other band members don't. I don't know what that is, but I was somehow. Oh, I remember what happened. Herbie, I was talking to Herbie one day, and he was coming up. He wanted to do something. He wanted to do something with street music. That's where This Is the Drum concept came up. He said, "Man, I want to just do some. I want some street people, and I want some ghetto stuff." And so he put me together with this guy that I think was the producer or co-producer on Rocket.
Bill Laswell?
No, this was a black DJ kind of guy. I don't know, DMZ or DMC or
yeah.
some shit. I don't know. And
DST.
So, yeah, so I can't remember. I just don't. I know it was somebody Herbie worked with on Rocket. So I went over to the studio and for 2 weeks I sat with this whatever it is, DMV or Department of Motor Vehicles. I don't know Man, look, we're in there 2 weeks. You know what we did? Nothing. Zero. And I'm like, Herbie, I can't do this. I don't give a fuck about the money. You keep the money. I'm out of here. I can't do this. I'm not gonna sit around here. It felt like 2 years instead of a couple of weeks. Because I'm not used to not doing nothing. I can't do that all day. So this guy, what I'm just saying, I'm glad I don't know his name. So I'm not, I don't know. But at any rate, I saw a couple of things and I said, Herbie, I ain't doing it. So I said, man, can I go home and put something together for you? Or just put something together myself, by myself. And I'll bring it back to you, see what you think. So I put some tracks together with some ghetto guys that I know. There's a guy named Bob Dog. And one other man, Bob Dog, and oh man, I can't remember the name right now. But anyway, these guys they had a funk band, and they hired me at one point to come and live with them for a couple of weeks to teach them how to put a band together, like how to really run a band. They actually paid me to come and stay at the house with them, so I could school them. So I did, and we became really tight, good friends. And I know they were gangsters. They were like selling weed and they were street people, man. I mean, that's what you want. You want
It was authentic.
authentic to the raw ski dosky. I mean, raw street. Cadillac, they had an old Cadillac that they had, and they drive around with their guns and their weed. But man, these were sweet guys. These guys were not bad guys. They weren't bad guys, not at all. It's funny, you get this image, the police say they shot because they were afraid. Ah, bullshit, bro. Because a lot of these people, they're living the myth. They're living what they saw on TV, like, Wyatt Earp and the Rifleman. See, they get that image and they think that's the shit, So they added in what they think when they start, they want to be that. They want to be that. They want to be Batman and shit. And I'm trying to tell them, dude, and they got guns. I used to tell them, I hired these guys. Look, this is really funny. So I get these guys, we do the little track together. I bring it to Herbie, and Herbie says, that's the shit I've been looking for. So I say, okay, well, man, I'm going to bring me and my boys, we're going to come and start working on the project. So I bring the guys over. Will, Will. Big, his name was Will Rock. He's still around. Will Rock and Big and Bob Dog. So I bring him over. Now, Bob Dog is bigger than the state of Louisiana. He's a big guy. He's huge. And then there's Will Rock is really dark like his shirt. Now Herbie's house is kind of whitish. You know what I'm saying? It's low. It's more like Hollywood. Up in the hills, Hollywood. My guys drive up in the old Cadillac, big long Cadillac with the fins on it, They get out of the car and they come up into the office. And I say, man, I want you to meet Melinda and, this is the family, Herbie's family. And they looked, they said, oh shit. So that day, let me tell you, man, look, before the guys left, that when I think the next day when they came back, everything in the house was locked up. They had locked. But now let me tell you, what happened was really funny. Over the period of time that we worked on the record, which was over a year, it was over a year. But by the time we worked on the record, these people that were afraid of these guys fell in love with them. It's amazing. They were more like, man, we love these. They love these people, man. They actually understood, look, we have nothing to fear from these people. They were loyal, They were loyal. They were sweet guys, and Melinda and Herbie, his family, and then Gigi, his wife. Bob eventually died, which was very hard for a couple of Herbie's people, because they had grown to love these people. And so it goes to show you that you can mix oil with water. It's possible, if you know how to do it.
Well, I loved how the record turned out too.
Yeah, well, you know what? It was underrated. It didn't get.
It was underrated.
Yeah, it was underrated. and it did, and it's some stuff on it that's really just now become palatable for an audience. I think some of it is so deep. It's some deep stuff like "This Is the Drum" and some, like just some stuff on it that's just kind of out there. It's just you have to, and then we felt at the time because it took us so long to complete it. And I remember asking them, I said, Herbie, we need to finish this. Man, it's going on. It's over a year. It was probably a year and a half or so. And I'm saying, well, this stuff is old now, Herbie. When it comes to street music and it comes to adding certain elements, it only has a 5-6 month shelf life. You know what I'm saying? Then, especially with black people, with the guys that are in it, they're on to something different, and everybody else is trying to catch up. Mm-hmm. And then by the time they catch up, they're on to something else. Yeah. So that's what happened with that. I think it was underrated. I think it wasn't looked at. And one other problem was, I think at the time, and according to Herbie's memoirs, he was having some kind of dependency issues, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, I mean, what is in the book? I haven't read the book, but I've seen excerpts from it, and I've heard people tell me that he checked into rehab. It's in the book. I mean, I can't. It's in the book.
Yeah, I felt like the label didn't really get behind it too. I think maybe because it was so delayed.
I don't know. Herbie could have created a problem for the record. I don't really know. I just know we put our blood, sweat, and tears in it, and I know there was a point we redid Butterfly. It's on that. I think it's on that record. This Is the Drum.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I believe, and I think it's beautiful, but I had to convince Herbie to leave the city to do it. We went somewhere in, I don't know where we went, Santa Barbara or somewhere. We went out of town so he could focus, and he wasn't, preoccupied with distractions. Because Herbie he liked to go to Spoggles. You know about Spoggles? Yeah. He'd go to Spoggles. I'd go and find him at Spoggles. I said, well, where's Herbie? I wouldn't bother him, but he'd be in there doing his thing. But I mean, we were concerned about him, So, I think there were things going on at that particular time that he was having some issues with, like everybody else. Yeah, he's human,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he worked it out and he's still around.
Yeah, well, he was going to work it out. Everybody has, times and periods where they're soul searching. Yeah, everybody has that. There have been periods that I remember a period in my life when I had a summer seat over in Europe. I was signed to MCA, and I said we need to stretch out and go to Europe and build our name in Europe. So I put the whole band on the plane. I had about $40,000 in cash in my pocket, and we went to London, and I had my record was called London Style. I think it was my last record with MCA, mm-hmm. And the week that the record was, we started finishing up the record in a place called Air Recording Studios in London. Next door to us, while we were recording my record, Paul McCartney was in the next studio. Wow. So I'm thinking like I'm making a career move really. I'm trying to get us on another level, and so I had gotten the budget for the record, and the week that the record was supposed to be released, they fired Irvin Azoff as the president, and then everybody else got fired, and it was like the stock market crashing. I'm in Europe. I got a band. I've got a few dates lined up, and I'm trying to come back home off of a European tour and makes you look good, and the press around it looks good. I think I'm making the right move, but oh my God, no, it was okay. It was the right move, but it was painful because I didn't have any money now, and I didn't have a record out, and they had to reorganize the record label, hire a new president who was then going to hire a new staff. And somebody was then going to hire the R&B guy because if you were black, you couldn't be pop. You see what I'm saying? They had to figure it out. So, yeah. What they did do is they said, well, we don't want to let you go, so we're going to exercise one of the options. They had an option. They exercised. They gave me some money. I bought a Mercedes bus. I bought a PA system. I bought enough band gear. I bought a Citroen, a car, and I put the band in a hotel. And I bought wardrobe for the album cover. No, I had to spend all this money, and so now no record. I'm in Europe. I got round trip tickets, a bunch of gear, a Mercedes bus, and a car, and I'm trying to build this band up. And I don't know if I have a career anymore. So what I started doing was drinking that German beer. Okay, it got to be every couple of days, and it got to be every day. It just got to be. Look, and I had been warned years before by a spiritualist, be careful of alcohol. And I'm saying, well, damn, I don't have any issues with alcohol. Well, why would some? But just in hindsight, so it gets to the point. Let me tell you how bad this got. I got the whole band. We're living in Worms, Germany, and I'm footing the bill. I'm buying the groceries. I'm paying people some kind of money. So I'm running out of cash. I'm like down and out. I'm running out of cash. Every day I would get in my car and drive to Heidelberg, Germany. And I would have instruments with me. I would get out the car and take my instruments to the city square and play for whatever money people would give me. The band didn't even know I was doing it. Mm. I'd come back, I'd have groceries. We'd hang out. We were surviving. And then I remember I got a gig in a place called Wilflecken, near the Fulda border, near the East German border. And a guy in a hotel had sympathy for me in a place called Poppenhausen. And he supplied rooms for me and the whole band and said, when you get the money, you'll pay me. I said, fine. So we were actually living out in the Schwarzwald, okay? So we go and we get this gig. You ever heard of a band called Mother's Finest?
Oh yeah, I had the leader on the show.
Okay. Well, we were booked to open for them in Wilflecken, and this was like going to be $8,000 that I'm going to get. This is going to pay the bills. This is going to straighten everything out. Everything's going to be hunky-dory. So we drive from another gig, which is about 300 miles away, to get to Wilflecken. We get to Wilflecken, and we drive up into the site where the concert is, and I see a crew on the stage tearing down the lights. I said, well, they should be setting the lights up. I'm like, uh-oh, something's up. So I go and I talk to the sound man. They're starting to dismantle the sound. I'm saying, well, what's going on? The guy says, the promoter doesn't have the money. We're leaving. What? Just like this Alvin Few guy doesn't have the money. So I go, and I didn't get a deposit either. So I go to the guy, and lo and behold, he doesn't have the money. So I'm like, I can't fold. I know that it's the final, this is the straw that's going to break the camel's back. I already know that. I'm going to have to get everybody back home. So I'm like really depressed. Nah, I'm cool though. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's take all our band equipment and go into the beer tent. And we'll just play for whatever people give us. It got to be like that, like a street musician. So we set up the gear, went in the beer tent. They gave us a bunch of beer and the pictures. It was Oktoberfest or something. And so we sat there. We played. They paid us. The people started dancing and giving us money. We made a couple of grand or what. I don't know. We made some money. So now I go to the hotel, which ain't that far away. Everybody's in their room. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I hear a knock on the door. Yeah, who is it? It's Bo. Bo is my bass player. I open the door. Bo's got his head down. He can't look me in the eye. I said, man, what's wrong? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. He said, man, I turned the bus over. You what? You turned the bus over? Here's the bus that I bought. This is an investment. If everything fails, I can cash in, right? I can sell a bus. I can sell a car. It's like you can't spend it if you can't, right? It's an asset. So I said, man, I said, well, how bad? He said, All the equipment is in it too. It's all, everything is destroyed. And that wasn't all. There was a girl in the bus that he was with, and she was still in the bus.
Oh.
This is in my memoirs. This is one of the stories. So look, I said, oh, it's like, it's still dark. I said, man, let's go. I jump in my little Citroen, me and about 3 or 4 other guys in the band, to go to where the bus turned over. Find the bus turned over in a ditch, in a, one like a ravine. Like, there is a girl bleeding like crazy in the van. So I said, well, let's get her out of there. So we get her out of there, and we put her in the car and take her back to the hotel. And there's no elevator. I'm on the 3rd floor. We carry her up 3 flights of stairs. We get her in the room. I get some towels, and I wipe her face off, and it was a superficial wound. It wasn't bad. She had been drinking. He had been drinking. She was 16, and he was about 19. Okay. So now I'm like, okay. So we get her cooled out. I put her in the car. I take her within yards of her place and tell her, I say, are you okay? She says, I'm fine. Thank you. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'm okay. I say, okay, if you're sure you're okay, good, then I'll see you later. And I never saw her again. I never talked to her again. But when I got back to the hotel, of course, now I don't have the bus. There's nothing for the band to ride in. And the gear is messed up. Okay, so I'm already like, let me have a beer. I'm already there. You know what I'm saying? But I had this episode, like, so I forgive and forget, because we all have issues sometimes. We all have to deal with demons or deal with something that tests us. You know what I'm saying? Herbie had his test. I've had mine.
So that was like 1984 about?
Yeah, man. And I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you something. When I lost that deal, if you know what it is to have to climb the ladder again, I'm gonna tell you what happened. I came back. I got on a plane. I left Worms, Germany. I had a duffel bag. I had more stuff, but I only had 2 arms. I walked to the train station, to the Bahnhof. I got a train to the Frankfurt Main airport. But by the time I got on the plane, I had 25 cents. And that was it. I'm talking about left to my name, period. Period. It was all gone. I had 25 cents. That was it. I was able to pay my airport tax, get my bags, get my few things on the plane. And there was a few percussion instruments. And I got on the plane, and I sat next to 2 people. They were having their 50th wedding anniversary. And they wondered why. They said, well, would you have a drink with us? And I said, I didn't have any money. And I didn't need to be drinking anyway, So I said, no. So eventually, y'all lady bought me. I don't like, I'm really careful with drinking, and I don't really like drinking in front of people. I never have. So I was able to deal with that. But, then eventually we just talked, but you're on the plane for 8 hours or whatever. And I told him my story. So on the way off the plane, this was an old white couple. On the way off the plane, I feel somebody's hand in my pocket. And I'm like, what the hell? My man was putting money in my pocket. And I reached out, I said, I can't take this. He said, man, take this money and get off the plane. So he put some money in my pocket. I don't know, he gave $40, $50 or something. A friend of mine picked me up at the airport. Actually, it was my son's mother. Picked me up at the airport. She took care of me, while I tried to get back on my feet. And then I got an envelope. God is wonderful. I got an envelope in the mail. Check this out. Somebody was stealing from me at the record company. They got audited, and the auditor found out that I was being cheated. I got a check in the mail for about $8,000.
Wow.
Yeah, right. It just, bam. I mean, it took about a week after I got home. It happened, a week or 2.
Wow.
I took the money, and I moved to a place called Camp Meeker. California, near Occidental or near Santa Rosa. I moved in the middle of a redwood forest, and for 1 year I cut trees down and carved drums. So I rehabbed myself. I self-habbed me. I got myself clear and clean and real. Like, okay, I get up in the morning, it's nothing but trees and grass and birds and owls and deer, and there ain't nothing up there but wow. So I stayed up in there and I got my mind together. I really got there. Then I drove to LA and I said, I'll have to climb the ladder again. So I went and I did it. And I think what happened, I think I was there maybe 6 or 7 months. I get a call from Quincy Jones. Shit, Color Purple.
Oh, uh-huh.
And some other things happened around before that, but it just started going back up again.
Wow.
There's one of the reasons that Summer Seat never came out with another record. That was like the end of the road for that being like together like that. Anyway, these are some hell of a stories, huh?
Yeah, that's a fantastic story, and I appreciate you sharing so many of them.
Man, look,
with me.
You have no idea. My book is really my memoirs. I can't. I'm scared to put it out.
Is it done?
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, I finished it 4 years ago, so I gotta update it. But man, I've seen some stuff that I put in the book you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
It's drugs, sex, and rock and roll for real.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you just want to get out as a message to any of the viewers before we sign off?
So I think it's an honor to be asked to do an interview by a person like you, and I think it's my obligation to speak to the people while I have a chance to do it.
Well, it's much appreciated, Bill. How can people best keep up with what you're doing, and are you going to have any new recorded music coming out in the future?
Well, listen, if you go, I have a internet record label that I've started. So if you go to Amazon.com or iTunes or any of those internet stores, I just did a project in Cuba, in Matanzas, with a group called Los Reyes del Tambor, which is Kings of the Drum. And it was a Club Kid project, my Club Kid project that I told you I have this organization where I help young people. And I go around the world doing it. I just go places and I do it. So I bring a studio with me. And like this group, I recorded them in the kitchen, in a bedroom. And then I took the tracks to a hotel. And I took the mattresses off the beds in the hotel and put them up to the windows and recorded in overdubs. So I do stuff like that. It's like real grassroots, guerrilla kind of stuff. So I just released a recording on them called Los Reyes del Tambor, which is you can find it on iTunes. And then I also released a spoken word artist that I put some music behind. His name is Peter Haroon. It is called The Masses. So we released a single on him on my label. And I also released a Kwanzaa record, a Kwanzaa CD, which is music for Kwanzaa. I guess you're familiar with Kwanzaa. I don't know if you know anything about Kwanzaa.
The holiday?
Yes, it's an alternative to Christmas for Black people. So I did that. George Clinton is on it. And Dean Davenport from the Brand New Heavies and a bunch of artists from New Orleans. So I released that. That music has been done for years, but I released that. So I'm releasing stuff, and I'm going to release some stuff. I released an R&B single on it recently called, what's the name of that? Stop for a Minute. It's an R&B like soul ballad with about 5 languages on it, saying I love you in 5 or 6 different languages. But it's a story behind the song. So it's an R&B thing. It's something like Summer Seat would have done. So it's available. These things are available right now. So I plan to release like 100 singles in the next couple of months.
Is that all?
Well, I mean, I got all this stuff in the can. It's not like, I record every day, just about. So I have an arsenal of unrecorded, of unreleased material. So that's one thing that I want people to know about, that they can go and find Bill Summers. If they go on there and they look up I Stop for a Minute, or The Masters with Peter Haroon, or Los Reyes del Tambor, they can find some good music. And I'm going to continue to do that. So that's probably what I'm doing. I'm also involved in that thing at the Dorothy Chandler I told you about, and continuing. I'm waiting for my nonprofit status from the IRS for my 501c3, which is Club Kid. And I've been offered funding for a couple of 3 years from a big company. So I'm just, I have to keep many irons in the fire. And I suggest that everybody out there that's, one thing I do know that I like to say to people is, if you have in your, if in your mind, when you were a child, you thought you wanted to be in the arts, or you thought you wanted to be an actor or a singer or a musician, it's not too late. Because the worst thing in the world to do is to go to your grave not giving yourself a chance to do what God put you there here to do. Because you know exactly what he wants or she wants you to do. You know what it is inside your mind and your body. And if you didn't give a chance to self a chance to do it, then shame on you. Because people should do it. And a lot of young musicians come to me and say, well, what should I do? I say, well, do you have a job? They say, yeah, I'm working at the grocery store. I said, but you play music? Yeah, I play music. I play music all the time. Every time I got, well, is that on your spare time? He said, yeah, I guess so, because I got to work. I said, well, you should make your work spare time and make the job what you really like doing. And at least get enough money for 6 months to float yourself for 6 months where you do nothing but what you really want to do with your life, to see if you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Buy the time to fulfill your dream. And then if you can't do it in 6 months, if you don't see great progress, then yeah, go back to the job. But at least you satisfied that urge and that dream.
Inspirational.
And well, it's the truth. It ain't rocket science.
Yeah.
I'm not no soothsayer, no, all holier than thou kind of guy. I just know things. I just know stuff. I know how things work. So okay, well, man, it was a pleasure talking to you. Because if I didn't like talking to you, it wouldn't have lasted this long.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Bill.
All right, I'll see you later.
Call it what you want. I call it a fabulous career's work of jazz, funk, Latin funk, and world music by a force of nature, Mr. Bill Summers. Did he have some great passion and stories, or what? Amazing. One more time, a big thanks to Mr. Bill Summers for spending so much time and sharing those stories with us. As we wrap up this edition of Truth and Rhythm, a sincere thank you to you, the viewers, and also the listeners of this program. Thank you for the support. Be sure to look out for upcoming episodes of Truth and Rhythm and previous installments at funkandstuff.net, YouTube, iTunes, and other leading providers. And we want to hear from you. Drop me an email at scottg@funkandstuff.net. Let me know what you like, who you want to see on the show. I've been hearing so much more from you guys, and it's fantastic. I love the passion. Lastly, please subscribe to Truth and Rhythm at YouTube through the funkandstuff.net channel. Show your support for the program, especially the featured artists who have done so much to brighten our lives with incredible funk, jazz, and R&B music. Subscribe. Get friends to subscribe. Show the support. Keep the funk alive. And so with that, until next time, as always, this is Scott Dr. GX Goldfine saying keep on vibrating to the rhythm of the one.